just going to go through it real quick, so if you missed it, pay attention, it'll come up again, right?
Liquids, gases. B, atoms, molecules, ions. C, protons, neutrons, electrons.
The answer was?
D, solids, liquids, minerals.
A, right?
The point where all molecular motion stops is called A, the freezing point. B, below zero temperature. C, absolute zero. D, a vacuum.
A vacuum?
Oh, let's see.
A form of energy that sets molecules in motion is A, cold. B, wind. C, pressure. D, heat. Heat that is readily measured with a thermometer is called A, latent heat. B, superheat. C, sensible heat. D, total heat. Which of the following occurs when heat is absorbed by a liquid, changing the liquid to a vapor? A, condensation. B, evaporation. C, absorption. D, vaporization. Section 2, refrigeration cycle components. The purpose of any refrigeration or air conditioning system is to remove heat from an area where it is undesired and transfer it to an area where it will do no harm or is unobjectionable. Let's look at the four major components used to accomplish this. The heart of the refrigeration system is the compressor. Refrigeration and air conditioning compressors are designed for vapor compression only. Their function is to receive from the evaporator a low-pressure superheated vapor called suction gas and compress it into a high-pressure, high-temperature vapor called discharge gas. This discharge gas is forced into the condenser by the compressor. The condenser utilizes a coil, fan motor, and blade to remove absorbed heat from the high-pressure, high-temperature refrigerant vapor it receives from the compressor. Refrigerant leaves the compressor at a temperature higher than the outside ambient air. As the hot vapor gas moves through the condenser, it is cooled by air forced through the condenser coil by the fan. Drops of liquid refrigerant form within the coil, much like drops of water form on a glass of ice water on a hot summer day. By the time the gas reaches the other end of the condenser coil, it has condensed into a high-pressure, subcooled liquid. After leaving the condenser, the high-pressure, subcooled liquid is delivered to a metering device through the liquid line. The function of a metering device is to control or meter the flow of refrigerant to the evaporator coil. Commonly used metering devices include thermostatic expansion valves, capillary tubes, and fixed-bore flow-rated devices. The high-pressure liquid refrigerant entering the metering device must be reduced to allow expansion and absorption of heat in the evaporator. The metering device changes the refrigerant to a low-pressure, low-temperature mixture of 75% liquid and 25% vapor as it enters the evaporator.
Okay, what did that just say?
It said
It's a
25.
little bit different than what I told you out here.
Yeah.
Okay, now, this is Carrier. This is Carrier video. But yet, I've gone to every Carrier and Sporlan class they ever offered, and we always used 80-20. So that's why I paused it right now. Because what was I telling you yesterday? 80-20. And they're saying 25-75. Okay, it really doesn't matter. As long as you've got the concept down that whether it be 25 or whether it be 20%, they're both correct. Okay, because I'm going by That's what Carrier says. That's what Sporlan says. And so that's close enough, okay? So I use 80-20. You just saw it said 75-25. You're saying, hey, but that's not what I said. What he said yesterday, right, guys? That clicked in your head. You said, well, see, you were paying attention. 80-20. So I wanted to pause and tell you, depending what school you go to and who you listen to, it might be 80-20. Could be 75-25. It really is irrelevant. What's the important thing? That's right. That 25% or that 20% of that liquid refrigerant does what to the remaining? Subcools the remaining 75 or 80% of that liquid that's passing through the evaporator.
If you use either one of those numbers, we'll be right.
Right. I don't have a problem. But I'm used to 80-20. So if you want to keep me happy, use 80-20. But if you saw 75-25 on a test, and if Carrier was putting it on, and you didn't have any other choice, run with that 75-25, okay? Don't pass it up there. Well, none of these answers are right because it's always 80-20. But I can show you, that's a Carrier presentation, okay? And so therefore, you saw Carrier equipment there. Interesting enough. And you'll see things through the book that numbers will, in one chapter, they'll give you this one value. Then you'll read on a little later, get in another chapter, and they'll give you a different value. And I'll point that out to you. I'll say, hey, look, it's 3.412. This other, then they got 3.413. They got 1.4, 1.7, 1.5. Hold it. But you taught me 3.12. Okay, 1.412. Right, here we go.
Passes through the evaporator, it expands and evaporates into a vapor form. The evaporator is the component of the cycle that absorbs heat and is commonly located in the area being cooled. It is enclosed in a cabinet and will typically be installed on top of a furnace. A fan or blower moves air across the coil and creates the cooling effect. It is similar in construction to the condenser, but its function is just the opposite. Refrigerant leaves the evaporator as a low-pressure, superheated vapor and returns to the compressor through the suction line to start the cycle again. Prepare for quiz 2.
All right, you guys got it done?
Refrigeration and air conditioning compressors are designed to compress A. Liquid refrigerant, B. Vapor refrigerant, C. Both liquid and vapor refrigerant, D. None of the above.
Answer?
B.
Okay, good.
Heat is removed from high temperature, high pressure refrigerant vapor in the A. Condenser, B. Evaporator, C. Compressor, D. Metering device.
Answer?
A.
Good. A is the answer.
A thermostatic expansion valve is a type of A. Air valve, B. Gas valve, C. Shut-off device, D. Metering device.
Answer?
D.
D. Okay.
The component of the refrigeration cycle that absorbs heat is the A. Evaporator, B. Condenser, C. Metering device, D. Compressor.
Answer?
A.
Good.
Refrigerant leaves the condenser as a high pressure, high temperature vapor, B. High pressure, subcooled liquid, C. Low pressure, superheated vapor, D. Low pressure, low temperature liquid.
Answer?
B.
B is in boy.
Section 3, refrigerants. If the compressor is the heart of the refrigeration system, then refrigerant is the blood flowing through it. Without it, the refrigeration cycle would not function. Refrigerant is a chemical compound used to absorb heat in the evaporator and release it in the condenser. It is alternately compressed and condensed into a liquid and then expanded into a vapor or gas as it is pumped through a closed pipe system. Refrigerants have a low boiling point and, when changing states from a liquid to a vapor, they readily absorb heat. Refrigerants are used cycle after cycle, do not wear out, and are replaced only due to a leak, necessary service, or repair. All refrigerants must be miscible, that is, they must mix easily with the required lubricant. They must be non-toxic, non-hazardous to human health and the environment, non-flammable, non-corrosive, and they must be readily detectable if leaked. Refrigerant cylinders are color-coded to indicate the type of refrigerant they contain. The need to replace ozone-depleting refrigerants, referred to as CFCs or chlorofluorocarbons, has brought about great changes in the air conditioning and refrigeration industry. As of December 31st, 1995, the production of CFC refrigerants ceased. Manufacturers are now producing two types of replacements. The first type, HCFCs, or hydrochlorofluorocarbons, are being used as transitional refrigerants in older equipment designed for CFCs. HCFCs are scheduled for phase-out by 2010 for new equipment and 2020 for service use. The second replacement, known as HFCs, or hydrofluorocarbons, are zero ozone depletion potential refrigerants and contain no chlorine. They are designed for use in newer equipment and have no scheduled phase-out date. With the many types of refrigerants available today, technicians need to be aware of the compatibility between these refrigerants and the equipment in which they are designed to be used. Prepare for quiz 3. Refrigerant absorbs heat in the evaporator and releases it in the A, compressor, B, condenser, C, metering device, D, refrigeration lines.
D.
The term CFCs stands for A, chlorine, fluorine, carbon, B, chlorofluorochlorines, C, chlorofluorocarbons, D, chloride, fluoride, carbide.
Answer?
C.
C.
Zero ozone depletion potential refrigerants are known as A, HFCs, B, CFCs, C, HCFCs, D, FHCs.
Answer?
A.
Good.
Refrigerants must be miscible. This means they, A, must mix easily with oxygen, B, can be used in any system, C, are legal for use in the United States, D, must mix easily with the required lubricant.
Answer?
D.
Good.
Refrigerant cylinders are color-coded to indicate A, the type of refrigerant they contain, B, their chemical makeup, C, the weight of the cylinder, D, the manufacturer.
Answer?
A.
Good. Yes. One more little section.
Section 4, the refrigeration cycle. Now that we have seen all the necessary components of the refrigeration cycle, let's take a closer look at how they work together to complete the refrigeration cycle. Since much of the refrigeration cycle occurs in a closed system, we will use computer animation throughout this section to help you better understand the process. Our discussion is based on the operation of a typical air conditioning system using R22, an indoor temperature of 75 degrees Fahrenheit at 50% humidity and an outdoor temperature of 95 degrees Fahrenheit. The refrigeration cycle is part of a mechanical system that converts electrical energy into mechanical energy in the compressor. The pumping action of the compressor, the mechanical energy, is the force that draws refrigerant in from the evaporator and pushes it through the condenser. The compressor takes in a low-pressure, low temperature superheated vapor called suction gas. Suction gas enters the compressor at 69 psig and 60 degrees Fahrenheit. It is compressed into a high-pressure, high-temperature vapor called discharge gas, which is forced into the condenser through the discharge line at 300 psig at 200 degrees Fahrenheit. The process of compression raises the temperature and pressure of the refrigerant, and the resultant temperature increase is superheat. Discharge gas contains 70 degrees Fahrenheit of superheat, which must be removed before condensing can occur. As the high-pressure superheated vapor enters the upper condenser, it is de-superheated. This means that the refrigerant is being cooled to saturated pressure temperature, the point at which liquid and vapor are both present. In this example, at 300 psig, the saturated temperature would be 130 degrees Fahrenheit. When the refrigerant reaches 130 degrees Fahrenheit, it begins to change state or condense into a liquid. This change of state occurs when outdoor air at 95 degrees Fahrenheit is forced through the condenser coils and heat is given up to the surrounding air. Because the surrounding air is cooler than the vapor refrigerant, the vapor will condense into a liquid. As vapor travels to the midsection of the condenser, it reaches the saturation pressure temperature point, and the change of state becomes latent heat of condensation. This means that heat has been removed from the vapor, changing it to a liquid, but no change in refrigerant temperature or pressure has occurred. Only a change of state has taken place. Therefore, refrigerant leaving the condenser will be a high-pressure, subcooled liquid. The temperature of the liquid and vapor will stay the same until 100% of the refrigerant becomes a liquid. Subcooled liquid from the condenser travels through the liquid line to the metering device. Refrigerant reaching the metering device may be 20 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than the condensing temperature. This means the liquid entering the metering device may be 110 degrees Fahrenheit. The metering device has an orifice or small pinhole which the liquid refrigerant must pass through. As refrigerant passes through, pressure drops, and the refrigerant changes to a mixture of 75% liquid and 25% vapor. The 25% vapor, known as flash gas, is used to cool the remaining 75% liquid to 40 degrees Fahrenheit, the boiling point for the refrigerant inside the evaporator.
What's that called again?
Refrigerant enters the evaporator as a low-pressure, low-temperature liquid-vapor mixture at saturated pressure temperature. The evaporator allows the low-pressure, low-temperature liquid to evaporate and expand into a low-pressure, low-temperature vapor. In doing so, the refrigerant absorbs latent heat of vaporization, allowing it to change from a liquid to a vapor without an increase in its temperature. The temperature of the refrigerant in the evaporator will not change, yet heat from the surrounding air is absorbed into the refrigerant. Once the refrigerant has completely evaporated and is 100% vapor, any heat absorbed by the refrigerant vapor past its saturation point is referred to as superheat. Superheating occurs in the last section of the evaporator and prevents liquid from returning to the compressor through the suction line, potentially causing damage. The refrigerant leaving the evaporator enters the suction line as a low-pressure, superheated vapor and returns to the compressor to begin the cycle again. Prepare for quiz 4. Refrigerant entering the compressor is a A, low pressure, low temperature liquid, B, low pressure superheated vapor. C, high pressure subcooled liquid. D, high pressure high temperature vapor.
Answer?
B.
Is B.
Superheated suction gas prevents liquid refrigerant from potentially causing damage to the A, condenser, B, evaporator, C, compressor, D, metering device.
Answer?
C.
As refrigerant passes through a metering device, it becomes a mixture of A, 75% liquid, 25% vapor, B, 50% liquid, 50% vapor, C, 25% liquid, 75% vapor, D, 30% liquid, 70% vapor.
Answer?
A.
Good.
Refrigerant leaving the evaporator will be A, high pressure subcooled liquid, B, high pressure high temperature vapor, C, low pressure superheated vapor, D, low pressure low temperature liquid.
Answer?
C. C.
Subcooled liquid from the condenser reaches the metering device through the A, suction line, B, liquid line, C, discharge line, D, evaporator line.
Answer?
A.
B.
B. B.
This tape has presented the basic principle of the refrigeration cycle, understanding the effect each of the four major
Okay. All right, we're good. Hopefully that kind of cleared the air a little bit.
Yeah, keep it for reference.
Let's come on out, guys.
Bring the what? Bring your notes. Notes or this thing? What's your notes? Did you want to take some of this?